In this video, I'm going to walk you through how you can sign a client within the next 7 days for your marketing agency. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story of when I was in the exact same situation and I just had to make it happen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that you need to take to get this client in as fast as humanly possible. So if you don't know already, I used to run a done-for-you lead generation agency. I would partner with marketing agencies, and when I started, I was essentially just a glorified appointment setter. So what I would do is I would partner with a marketing agency, they'd pay me a setup cost, and I would reach out on behalf of them and get them bookings. And I would get paid for every booking I get. As we started scaling more, as we got better results for our clients, we started helping them not just with the bookings, but also with the sales, with the operations, with building the offer, content, all these things. And we ended up charging around $4,000 a month, $24,000 upfront for all of this. But the reason that I mention this is that there was a point where I was running the appointment setting agency. I was still charging a setup cost and a pay-per booking fee. And this was just when I moved out of my parents' house a year after starting the agency. So at this point, I was probably making around $5,000, $7,000 per month. And obviously this is before expense. So after expenses, profit was around maybe let's say 3K, 4K. But in South Africa, in Cape Town, where I was from, this is perfectly fine. So I moved out of the place. I was so excited. I was covering the costs. It was new. Everything was exciting. But what happened was rent was due and I just signed 5 clients in a month. And I wasn't actually able to fulfill for all these clients. I didn't realize that because I was signing all these clients, I actually had to manage the operation. I still was doing the work. I was still in the day-to-day. So what happened was I signed on 5 clients. It was super easy. I thought life was fantastic. 2 of them had to leave, right? And the first one left because something happened in their company and they just literally couldn't pay the actual amount for the invoice. So that was down the drain. The next one was because it was taking too long. I was taking too long to actually reply to their messages, onboard them, all of that. So because of that, they were like, look, we actually need to get this done as soon as possible. Because of that, we have to leave. And what happened was my setup cost was around $4,000. And because 2 of our clients left, I had to refund $8,000. Now that would be fine. That wouldn't be a problem at all. But at that time, $8,000 was so much for me. And as dumb as I was at the time, the next payment was going to pay the next rent installment. So because of that, I lost the money that was meant to be for my next rent installment. And I had 30 days to actually come up with the funds to pay it off. So because of that, I was in the exact same situation where I literally just had to sign clients or I had to go back and live with my parents, which would be the worst feeling ever. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through the exact steps that I took when I was in that situation and how I've helped a lot of our clients now to do the exact same thing. For context, a lot of our clients, they join us, they're making, let's say, between $1,000 and $5,000 per month, and they're working, they're signing clients, but for whatever reason, maybe a refund, maybe anything, they can't pay the next payment. And we implement this system to help them get going as soon as possible and just make the money back as quickly as possible. So to understand the steps that we're going to take, we need to understand the idea of sales energy. So imagine a prospect who doesn't know who you are. They have absolutely no idea what you do or what your company does. It's ice cold. And what we can do is we can quantify it with, let's say, a 0 on the warm score. On the other hand of things, we have 100, right? The prospect knows who you are, they understand what to do, they like you as a person, they like your company, and they've paid you. This is the 100. So to get from 0 to 100, we can quantify it using something called sales energy. And simply put, it's an abstract measurement of how warm a prospect is, how likely they are to convert. If they're at 100, they've converted, they've paid you, life is good. If they're at 99, they have absolutely everything. They just need a little bit to get them over the line. And by understanding this, we know that speaking to people who are nearly bought, that just need to hear like 1 or 2 more things, they just need to see like 1 more case study and they're ready to buy, these people are obviously more likely to sign up. So what this system is going to look like is tapping into your audience, right? Tapping into people you may know who are as close to 100 as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to go from 100 to 0, working through all the prospects that have the highest chances of buying from you all the way to the 0. Now, to go back to the situation when rent was due and I had no money in my bank account, the first thing that I did was I thought about, okay, what were all the calls that I had where people were close to buying but just didn't buy? And what were the things holding them back? And this takes us to step 1, which is past sales calls. So what I did was when I was there in my apartment scheming on how I was going to actually get some more clients signed, I thought, okay, these are the clients that I had calls with. What if I just reached out to them with a new offer? Maybe with a discount, maybe with an adjustment, anything to just, alleviate the concerns that they had that stopped them from buying. So what this looked like was I sent a personalized email to every single one of the prospects who I had a sales call with. So let's say, one of the calls I had was with an agency and they told me that the 5K setup, it is too much upfront. So because of that, maybe they could split it over 2 months. And what I did was, because I knew that was their concern, I would email them with exactly that. I would say, hey John, hope you're doing great. Just want to reach out because we've got a brand new offer that can allow you to get started with less upfront risk. That's going to allow you to get to the 50K that you wanted so much quicker. Would you be open to a quick conversation where we can, discuss and see if it makes sense? And I did that for every single person. And that exact script that I use, you can just take the exact same thing. And the key points of it is that I'm talking about their objection. The fact they want to get started, they want to get results, but they just don't want the risk, but also still get into the outcome. And then the key point is that I'm getting them onto a call. You don't just want to do this, send them a payment link and cross your fingers and hope they sign up. That's probably the worst thing you can do. Get them onto a call. When they're on the call, you want to redo the actual sales cycle, right? You want to bring up their goals, bring up their pain points, literally just take the process as it is, as you did the first time. And this exact process is what we give to our clients, the exact process we use to close $24,000 deals. If you want more info on that, just click the link in the description. It'll walk you through how we get results for our clients. And that's what I did. So using that method specifically, that got me one client. Right? I remember at the time specifically, because I didn't have that many sales calls to go through. So that got me one client, and that got me around 2,500. That covered my expenses, and it, alleviated being like nearly in debt with it. But then I still needed the money for the rent. So I kept going with the process. Now, the next thing I tapped into was my email list and my audience. So at the time, because I was posting on LinkedIn, I grew a little bit of a following, and this is actually what got me to my first 50K per month, purely just LinkedIn. And we'd book around 1 to 3 calls per day on LinkedIn. So because I was posting content, I had a bit of an audience there. And because I was taking sales calls with people, I also ended up growing an email list. Because all of the people who booked in via Calendly, I got their details and I could just tap into that. And in the same way that I reached out to old prospects, people who I spoke to on sales calls, they were on the higher end of the sales energy. I also did the same with my audience. Now, again, these people are gonna be not at 100, not at 90. Because they know who I am, because I got value, they're on the upper end of it. So because of that, all I need to do is throw out a new offer that gets their attention and that can get them onto a call. So essentially, I made a couple posts on LinkedIn. I probably did one every single day at the time, just to make sure I got it in. And what it looked like is, again, I was talking about a new offer. So I would say something very simple, like, hey, if you're running an agency and you're booking less than, let's say, 3 calls per day, I've got something that can help you do that on a pay and results basis. And then I just explain the offer. I used to say, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna help you build a new offer. We're gonna run your outbound campaigns completely done for you, and it's all done on a pay and results basis. And then I'd say, look, if you want more info, just send me a DM. And then when they DM me, then I would move to get them onto a call. And I did the exact same to my email list. I sent out an email blast. I did it every single day until I got the bookings coming in. And what you want to do is every single day, you just want to adjust the messaging a little bit. Either talk on the angles of bookings, on sales. If you're doing it for, let's say, a different type of agency, you can talk about different benefits. Maybe you operationalize people's agencies, you help them get out of the day-to-day, you talk about that. If you help them get more sales for the e-com brand, you talk about that. Whatever the benefit is, you just need to call it out, mention your guarantees, and then get them onto a call. And if it's the case now that you can't offer a guarantee, if you really need cash flow in, this is gonna be the fastest way to do that. So using these methods, I got around 7 calls, right? So even though my expenses were paid for the business, I still had the rent coming up, but at least I had some hope, right? So I had some calls coming in. I remember doing this specifically on a Friday and had some calls coming in over the weekend and then for the next week, right? So everyone booked for that next weekend. Honestly, over the weekend, I was just panicking and I didn't want to do nothing. So on top of this, the third step you can do is send outreach. Now, what the outreach looks like is honestly the exact systems you'd usually use, just do a lot more of it. And again, like most of our clients, we just give them the exact scripts to do this. So again, if you want more info, just check the link in the description. But simply put, we had a client who was booking around 5 to 7 calls per day on LinkedIn, and he was using a simple 1-line script. And what this looked like is, again, because he was modeling what we were doing in the appointment setting agency, literally all he said was, hey Naeem, would you be open to getting 15 to 30 qualified calls on a pay and results basis? And he literally just sent that out to everyone, right? And he was booking 5 to 7 calls per day. So honestly, if you just want to run with that script, you can. We've got endless other ones, but that is a simple thing that you can do to get a ton more bookings coming in. Just reach out to every single connection, follower, Facebook person, anything you can find. And if you really need cash flow, or you just really want to grow quickly, there's no excuse to not do this. So that's the other method I was doing over the weekend. I just wanted to secure that I had everything I needed to actually keep going with the agency. So over the weekend, I did that. I booked a couple calls, and then during the week, I had, essentially all these calls mapped out that I was ready to take and ideally close. And I know a lot of people who watch this, they don't have case studies, they don't have proof. This is perfectly fine. In your case, you'll follow the exact same steps. If you haven't taken any calls, then honestly, you just need to do some outreach. Like, you just need to get your name out there, start messaging people. So what actually happened, just to conclude the story, is over the coming week, I followed the sales process. I took the calls, around 5 to 10 of them, they showed up. We actually ended up signing 2 or even 3 more clients at the time. And doing that, we generated an extra 7 to 10,000 in cash collected. I covered off the rent, and I just made sure to keep all the rest of the profits in the account just in case anything else came up. So that is how you can sign clients within 7 days. Use it, and I will talk to you in the next video.